right. Welcome, everyone. I am so excited and honored to be here with my friend and my mentor, Dr. Jeff Wulfman.
Hello.
And hello, thank you so much. Yeah, we're going to be talking about the cloud, of course. And I really wanted to share your perspective about it, like using a slideshow that I've seen. And I just thought this would be great for people to learn a little bit more and hear a bit more about our stories and just really connect to what we're trying to share. Yeah.
Cool. And why are you doing this?
Right. Why do I feel compelled to share about the cloud?
Hmm.
Let me count the ways, right? Gosh. Yeah, I will definitely share more about this in the future for sure.
Hmm.
But I often tell people that the cloud has like truly changed or allowed me to change my life. And it has facilitated a lot of growth for me, both on a physical level and on a spiritual level. When I came to you a couple of years ago, we met, you introduced me to the cloud. I had no idea what it would, help me
Yeah.
be. And from that moment forward, I really, there was no looking back. It truly helped my nervous system, two things. It helped my nervous system, which for me was really the area I needed the most help with, in order to unlock all of that self-healing that I had inside of my body. So
Hmm.
it allowed my nervous system to dial down. It allowed my body to address things that were latent, that were really giving me that physical stress, and it allowed me to work through those beautifully. And then beyond that, just the spiritual connection that I had after all of the physical issues were really,
Yeah.
dealt with on a larger scale,
Yeah.
brought
Well
me to new
said.
levels of health and
Hmm.
well-being. So
Yeah.
so much more to that story, but
Yeah. Loved. I look forward to hearing more about it, and I think
mhm,
it's a beautiful thing to share. And it's some connections of like why I'm here too is you have. It's really important to have that core support and stability from the inside out, which requires energy and balance. And I'm going to go into that more. And so this is a way of actually helping to bring that into, and it's can often be a missing piece. And so
yeah,
yeah, today like we talked about just like doing this like big overview of what the heck it is and
yeah.
why it might be important. And so, there'll be some sciencey things
Yeah,
but I hopefully it's helpful to the audience for them to understand better like what we're talking about.
yeah. I know it will. Absolutely. I mean, 2 years into this, I'm still learning a little more here and there every time I hear you
Hmm.
speak
Yeah.
and dive in a little deeper.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's been a journey for me too, because it's a paradigm shift away from like this, mechanistic A plus B equals C and got to bring this chemical in to do this thing. And it's a little
Mm.
more broad than that. So, should we get started?
Let's get started.
Cool. I want to respect people's
Yeah.
time, and so I'm going to go a little bit
Thank
fast through
you.
this because I just want to like give a picture of all these things, but not take too much time. Let me share my screen, and we'll just you see that okay, Carly?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So PEMF stands for Pulsed Electromagnetic Field. That's the general class. What we're talking about. I put it in parentheses for a reason, and we'll talk about that later. But it truly is a foundation for the self-healing response. And we'll talk about that more. Two thing. Oh, let me go to play. So it's on the full there. Still seeing that?
Great. Yep. Perfect.
Okay. All right. So disclaimer and transparency at the beginning. All information here is for educational purposes only. Nothing shown or stated is meant to diagnose, treat, prevent, or cure any disease or illness. Carly and I are both affiliates with Centropix, the company that over in Liechtenstein that creates this and makes it. And we would not speak about it here if we hadn't seen it change lives, including our own. And our affiliation came after our experience and not before. And those are
Mhm.
important pieces for both of us,
So
just
important.
from an integrity standpoint.
Yeah.
So Underlying problems, root cause, like here's a little thing, comic strip. I'm addicted to the internet because it's more interesting than people. Asking the doctor, is there a pill you can give to everybody to make it more interesting? And he's very dejected when he gets home, and doctors never want to treat the underlying problem. And so part of this is like, let's work on the underlying issues that are there and not just focus on the outside. And this involves energy, really, when you get down to it. Bruce Lipton, said the cell is 100 times more responsive to energy than it is to chemistry. And most of the things that we do in the healing realm, it is trying to get chemistry to do something, but actually the cell's very responsive to energy. And Tesla said, if you want to understand the universe, think of energy, frequency, and vibration. And Einstein said the future medicine will be the medicine of frequencies. And of course, everything is energy to some degree, but we're talking about actually bringing in health and vitality promoting frequency into your system to help facilitate vitality. So wellness, healing, and vitality, of course, it's multifactorial. It's unique in every person. That's a very holistic perspective. But there's two core requirements to be at your optimal level. One is energy. At the molecular and even the electron level, you have to have adequate energy to maintain and self-heal and regenerate and grow and be resilient. So the cloud, this pulsed electromagnetic field, is a direct electromagnetic energy transfer from the cloud signal to your tissues. It's like powering the hardware of your system. And then the second piece is balance. And Carly alluded to this, is like your nervous system has to be in balance to function optimally. And that's like the software of the nerves. Many have heard like of the autonomic nervous system. There's the parasympathetic rest and digest and the sympathetic fight or flight. Most people are in a very sympathetic dominant state, fight or flight. And so by entraining to this signal, we'll talk about that, it helps bring the nervous system into balance. So it's hitting those two things, energy and balance, which are core requirements. So, I mean, this is just a picture of someone laying on a cloud mat, and one of the representations is that it's recharging your batteries at a cellular and molecular level. These things are amazing. They can do a million different things. But if the battery is at 5%, it goes into low power mode and it starts shutting down non-essential programs. So it can't actually do those things. If you lay it on a wireless charger, a pulsed electromagnetic field runs through that battery and raises the electron potential. And now you can tell it to do whatever you want. It can run all the programs. It's a little bit similar. Like when you're lying on the mat, the body is in this pulsed field. It's raising that energy potential, and then your system decides what to do with it. This is the creator of the cloud, Dr. Wolf Kafka. He's kind of the Thomas Edison of the PEMF space. He's been studying it for over 60 years, and he's in his 80s. I met him over in Liechtenstein, and this is his latest creation that is multiple magnitudes more complex and sophisticated than any other pulse electromagnetic technology that is out there. And we'll talk about why. So the cloud is really the next generation of PEMF. There's been like a 25-year, no significant developments in the technology, and he closed that gap, and this is actually next gen. It's patented signal, has 50 times more activation power, wireless, foldable, portable, user-friendly. It's made in Switzerland, FDA Class 1 medical device. So the term that's often used is PEMA, pulsed electromagnetic activation, to represent the cloud, because it truly is, get the F out of here. It's not just PEMF, it's the next generation. And it's important to differentiate, because like people say, oh, I tried PEMF, or I heard of PEMF, or I did this PEMF and nothing happened. Well, that's kind of like saying I took a supplement and nothing happened, so supplements don't work. Well, what ones? And was it a complex, nuanced combination, et cetera? So this is next generation. So yes, it is technically, that is the technology, but it is much more complex. So the cloud down in the middle there is the only ultra broadband versus just a narrow part of the spectrum, ultra complex signal that gives 20 plus million impulses in a session, covers the full spectrum, not just little pieces, giving 50 times activation capacity versus other quote PEMF devices that are out there. And it's the only device to ever do a large scale, real world quality of life outcomes trial in the population. And I'll talk about that. Over 400 people, users, and they said, well, how do you feel different after 6 weeks? No device has ever done that until the cloud. So here's a really important slide, what it called the domino effect. It's like, okay, how can this thing help? How can it do all these things? Makes no sense. Well, let me tell you. If you look all the way on the right, what you want is improved quality of life, right? Sleep, energy, fatigue, discomfort, cognitive function, vitality, resilience, etc. Well, in order to have that on an ongoing basis, you got to have a resilience and a self-healing capacity. And then you go back one more domino. Most of the inputs are in the biochemical, like supplements, meds, diet, nutrition, trying to get chemistry to go. But before chemistry is physics, energy, and that's where the cloud comes in, directly activating at the molecular level, and then that pushes the other dominoes forward. So if you don't have, like the cell phone analogy, if you don't have the full charge, even though you have all those abilities and those apps and programs and software, you can't move those forward and run them all at the same time if you don't have the charge. So this is just showing, okay, great. So I was curious about this. I vetted this for a long time before I engaged about 2.5 years ago. And this is a study that was done on human cells. It's a petri dish. It's a healing model. The one on the bottom, they gave these human cells one cloud session for 15 minutes, and then the one on the top, they didn't. And then they watched them for 48 hours to see, is there any difference in how they respond? Now they're supposed to close the space. That's what connective tissue does. And you can see the ones at the bottom were able to close that and multiply, divide, and close that space in half the time. The ones at the top they're trying, but they're going very, very slow. And the reason is energy. It's the same nutrients, same temperature, same environment. The only difference is the ones on the bottom were charged at the molecular level via a cloud session. So you can imagine your whole body. I want all 36 trillion of my cells to be charged like that so that they have the energy to do what they're trying to do all the time. My immune system running around doing detox pathways up and going, regenerating damaged tissues, etc. So this is a very busy slide. And the main thing that I wanted to show is if you look at the effects of PEMF really come down to the signal. And so that's why I say PEMF is not equal because, for instance, one device may only, if you look at this whole spectrum, this is the cloud, what they call the base signal. If you look at the whole thing, most devices will have one little piece of that, like right in the middle, there's a piece this big, and another device has a piece this big. It's kind of like two piano keys here, device A, three piano keys here is device B, and the cloud is the whole piano key plus a 30-piece orchestra. It's the only one that covers the full spectrum of signal, and that translates into how much does it affect. And then the other patent that the cloud has is what's called superposition. It's not only that signal, but it actually comes in one just behind the other, giving immense complexity and overlap so that you're getting tremendous number of impulses in the 15 minutes. So this is just another example of why that's important. The older devices from the 70s and then 98, and then at the bottom it's showing, yeah, that affects a few molecules because every molecule is different. Everyone vibrates to a different spot on that frequency. And then the cloud covers the whole span and then leads to much, much more molecular activation. 25 million different pulses in 15 minutes. The closest one on the market has 50 times less than that, like 400,000. And I'll show that. So this is the evolution of frequency therapy over time. Most devices have very simple or narrow band. You can see on the left there, like a simple sawtooth or square wave, and in a very just a little bit. So it's only activating a few molecules. 25 years ago, um, that's the Bemer signal in the middle, which helped bring PMF to the Western world, which is awesome. And it was actually Kafka designed and developed that one and patented that one. It was a big development, but he continued to develop that technology to the cloud signal, which has so the in the center one gives you 450,000 impulses in one session. The cloud gives 50 times more, 23 million impulses, and you can see how much more complex it is. And that leads to outcomes. This is one of the reasons I didn't get invested in PMF before, is I didn't feel the outcomes were dramatic enough or consistent enough. And that's what I was saying here. Like I knew that PMF had a lot of potential. I used to go to speak at conferences and see the devices. I knew it had a lot of potential, but the existing technology was not good enough for me yet. But I kept my eye on it. And one of the reasons the prior technology to now is that the signals were simple and basic. They were very narrow, only like this piece or this piece, like only these piano keys or these piano keys, not the whole frequency range. They weren't very complex. And, or you couldn't even find out what the details were. And the outcomes were not like the results that I saw in people were not at a level that was impressive enough for me. And that's, one thing I really want to get through is because it's, just our mind tends to go, oh, PMF. Oh, I have this thing and it has PMF in it. I mean, that could be one of those little peaks in that whole huge spectrum. And that's all it does is that one thing over and over and over and over again. And the body just doesn't, it won't respond to that because you're only hitting one little piece and it's the same thing over and over. This is the only ultra complex one. So does PMF equal PMF? No, they are very, very different. There are multiple variables. There's the intensity. So when you look at PEMF, there are low intensity units. That's like the power, the amount of energy that's put out, and there are very high intensity units that are more in the medical grade, that are for focal applications. Cloud is in the low intensity class of PEMF units. Then there's the frequency, like how many impulses are there happening over time? We already talked about that. There's the spectrum. Is it narrow? Is it only hitting a couple spots, or is it the whole thing? And the cloud is the only ultra broadband. What's the waveform? Is it a simple little sawtooth or square? The cloud is the only one that has that superpositioned crossover ultra complex form. And the complexity um, is is so important because if you do the body, if you do the same thing over and over and over again, it gets kind of deaf to it and stops responding. So like, I know, Carl, notice this too, like if you're giving the same supplement over and over or something, like you initially get a response and then just like
Yeah.
the body stops listening to
Plateaus.
it. It plateaus off.
Yeah.
So this ultra complex signal is constantly changing and shifting all the time. And then what's the duration? So in the cloud, all the programs run for 15 minutes. It's recommended to use it twice a day. You can do more. And then, if you look at studies, PMF studies, they're all over the place. There's no like standardization of what was used, but even with that, the outcomes are amazing. There's over 4,000 PMF studies over 50 years, and there's no risk. There's pretty much no risk, and there's just not much more that has that sort of combination. So just some usage insights that, might be helpful to people. Um, it is, there's a lot of biohacking going on, which is great. But a lot of those other inputs are very like focused one thing, trying to get something to happen. To me, the cloud is the foundation that you build all your other inputs upon. Because if you bring in whether it's supplements or hyperbaric or IV or, red lights or sauna or whatever, the body cannot fully respond to those other things if the battery's not charged. So like you stack whatever else you're doing on top of this core cloud support. It's foundational. So for instance, people who take supplements, I recommend they take their supplements first, wait 20, 30 minutes, and then do a cloud session because it increases microvascular circulation, potentially absorption, and also the supplements are made of molecules, so you're charging the supplements too. And I've seen people, excuse me, respond so much better to their supplements after doing that way. And using it before things like red light, infrared, hyperbaric. If people do IV therapies, like IV clinics are starting to bring this in because it helps calm the nervous system, helps get the blood flow going to respond. And people who do manual therapies like chiropractors and body workers and so forth, they find that when people do the cloud before their session, that the the nervous system is calm and the body is charged and ready to respond and to whatever they do. And so it just magnifies and multiplies whatever else you're bringing in. Acute injuries like this, sprains, strains, tears, surgery, etc., like this, it just shines here. Like doing multiple sessions over and over on a focal area in the cloud, you can actually fold it up and put it on one part of the body. So if there's a shoulder or knee or an ankle, and we'll talk more about this in future sessions. The signal goes both above and below the mat, so you can lay on it or lay it on you. Super convenient. And if you just go to ChatGPT and like, what are the documented effects of PEMF as a class? It's phenomenal. And this puzzled me. My like doctor brain. I was like, how's this possible? All these different things. But if you think about what I talked about, it's like this core charging of the system. The body already wants to reduce inflammation and heal and repair and sleep well and detox and deal with microbes, but it has to have the charge to do it. So if we look at the literature as a class, the excuse me, the pain is reduced, pain and inflammation, tissue repair, circulation, bone density, fracture healing, sleep. This is not cloud specific. This is class specific. Mental clarity, mood, cognition, mitochondria, etc. Immune response, muscle tension, relaxation, detox, lymphatic flow, etc. And here's some of the studies that are supporting all those things. People often ask, are there certain programs or protocols or settings for specific conditions? And I asked Dr. Kafka this question because my doctor brain was going, oh, is there a certain frequency you can use for like arthritis or for this or for that? And he's like, no, that's not how it works. It is diffusely increasing the molecular charge and the potential, and then your body decides what to do with it and how to utilize that and to take care of what it knows what to do. So this is like a paradigm shift that I really want people to get. And Carl, I know you and I talked about this, and that actually your body is not broken. It is trying very hard to go back to a state of health, vitality, balance, and strength. It's constantly trying to return to that state. But it needs the energy and a balanced nervous system to do that. So the effects that someone sees, so two people can use this, and what someone feels or perceives can be very different from person to person because that body's unique situation and unique needs may be different. Where one person may have significant reduction in discomfort, another have like sleep improves so much, another may have even mental, emotional, and spiritual shifts that they perceive because the body decides how to use that energy. So the question is, like, does it work for this? Does it work for that? Does it work for that? It doesn't matter too much what the quote diagnosis or symptoms are, because those are just expressions of a body that is not healthy, vital, balanced, and strong. And So it's helping you to go back to that. So the cloud has 5 programs. All of them activate molecules to some degree, but each one has a little different effect on the nervous system. So kind of like different songs, you listen to hard rock or blues or symphony, it's going to affect you a little different. So these 5 programs are relax, balance, energize, synchronize, and transform. And so you can choose which one you want for your situation and what you'd like to have. Um, like ones that are more calming and balancing are the balance, synchronize, and relaxer. And the ones that are a little more activating are transform and energize. So, for instance, transform or program 5 is the deepest penetration, really activates at the molecular level. So if there's high self-healing needs and so forth, that's one. And I like to get that in once a day because I just want the batteries full.
Yep.
I want to charge the batteries. And then the second one I may do during the day would be usually synchronize or balance to like bring that nervous system. Or if I'm feeling a little ungrounded, too much in my head, not feeling really settled, I'll go ahead and do a synchronize or balance. And then at night, if I'm wound up and having a hard time calming down, I'll do a relaxer. So you can pick and choose sort of, and people start to develop a sense. I don't know, Carl, if that's the case for you, but like
Mm.
I now just like, yeah, transform.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then, some of the time, like, no, I synchronize. I need to, I want to ground myself a little bit. I'm a little scattered or whatever. So,
I think the more you use it, the more intuitively you know what your body needs in the moment.
yeah. And we have that capacity. It's usually not very developed, but it can actually where you will know. The people start getting a relationship with it. They start knowing, like, yeah, I did this. And I've had some people say, you know what? I do program 2, 4, and 5, like back to back, 45 minutes. Like that's what works for me. And someone else will do something quite different. So you have the options, which I like. It's not just the one
Yeah.
thing. Some devices have like 100 programs, all for like very specific things. Personally, I do not feel that is in alignment with the way this technology works and is more perhaps marketing than anything. One of the questions, well, can I use it with a pacemaker? Like it's a low intensity device, so you just have to tell your doctor, hey, it puts out a maximum of 1 to 2 Gauss. That's sort of the energy output. Is it okay to use with mine? Most modern ones are shielded, but you need to check that out. Another question is like, well, what about, you know, PMF and cancer? So this is a quotation from a published study where they looked at just the world's literature on PMF in cancer. I just want to read this. That these studies show PMF is safe and promising compared to other, and this is not about the clouds, PMF as a class. PMF could be used not only as primary, but also in combination. And, given there's portable and affordable devices, future controlled studies are needed. And then, well, like what about sports performance? Uh, you, again, showing by improving circulation, tissue oxygenation, promoting the natural healing response, it's invaluable for sports medicine, contributing to optimized physical health and prolonged careers. So it's just a couple examples of what's out there. This is actually a cloud user did this little personal trial on plant growth. He's growing some plants. And you can see at the bottom on the right, the ones there in the middle, the taller ones. He gave a daily cloud session, like just basically put the cloud underneath his hydroponic thing, and the other plants he did not. And then you can see the significant difference in the plant growth, and you can see how the root structure is very different between those two sets of plants.
Mm.
And then people like, well, I thought EMF was bad. Why would I want to lay an EMF? Well, there's life enhancing electromagnetic fields. I mean, we are in an electromagnetic field all the time. The Earth has its own Schumann resonance. And I'm also surrounded by this Wi-Fi and this, and who knows, the electricity in the wall and my router. There is life enhancing EMF that is within the body's normal range. And then there's chaotic EMF that is outside of physiologic range, which you can see the tree on the left is right next to a smart meter. That's not so enhancing of life. So this signal is within the physiologic range.
Hmm.
Animals love it. They make a set for horses. Our dog, excuse me, our dog climbs on it every time. When we do
Mhm.
a session, you've seen Ash, Carly,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
he hears the beep beep like starting, and he'll come over and
yeah.
gets up on there and lays upside down, tries to push you out of the way.
Yep.
So there's no placebo effect in animals. You're not fooling them like, hey, this is good for you. Come over here. Uh, and
Animals, plants, and kids. My son
yes,
climbs on mine too every day. So,
yeah, exactly. You can't
mhm,
fool them. It's not a placebo or a belief system. They are just attuned to what feels good in their system.
mhm.
So these are what I've seen in 2.5 years. You're combining electroceuticals with nutraceuticals. And when you put those two together, you get markedly improved outcomes, which makes my job easier. Like I double the response rate to my protocols. I work with a lot of complex chronic illness people. Things go much faster. People who have plateaued and stopped responding all of a sudden take off and start responding again. They're not relapsing as much. They're not as sensitive, like, oh, I can't do this. I can't go there. I have to get this much sleep. I can't eat that. I can't because I feel horrible. Like they just start, it doesn't bother me so much. Wow, I did this and did this heavy physical thing. And yeah, I was tired, but I didn't crash for 2 days. Like the resilience starts building. They have less flares with treatments, and just quality of life. So, this isn't like necessarily replacing what you do, but it magnifies and multiplies your body's ability to respond to it because it's at the bottom there. It's addressing the, root cause. You and I are both root cause, like people,
Yeah.
like what's underneath this, but this is the deepest root molecular energy. And then from the root up is, where it supports that domino effect. Real quickly, they did a huge study both in the US and Europe, 400 people. It's submitted for publication, coming out, should be by the end of the year. Um, just it's 400 people, users. These are people who just bought it, showed up at their house. They did a survey before in 6 weeks. 80% of people who had used prior devices were more satisfied with this than they were their prior devices. Um, how many, and this is just like before and after. How many of you feel full of energy, like emotional state, full of life energy? At the beginning, there were only 24% said, yeah. And after 6 weeks, 70% had that feeling. And then on the other one, the right-hand side, 75% said, yeah, I sometimes or never feel full of life energy. And that percent dropped down to 30%. Out of 100, out of 100 of those people were in this severe, rated themselves as having severe exhaustion. They looked at that group, and out of those 100 people, at the end of 6 weeks, only 15 of them still categorize themselves as having severe exhaustion, and that is massive change with this one intervention that has no negative side effects. It's mental exhaustion again. People who said I never do, it, changed and dramatic shifts over time. And this is what excites me also is like, you know, when you're feeling poorly, you just don't feel like doing anything, which radiates out into all of your life, your relationships, yourself, your family, your job, your loved ones, just and your overall quality of life. Like when you're feeling poorly, and you touched Carly also around too, it affects your mental, emotional, even your spiritual like
Mhm.
growth and development because you're just like you're stuck in the mud. And this showed that um, some people who said, like, if you look on the right, regularly to always, I do not feel like doing something. 88% said that. And at the end, only 25%. So it's just dramatic shifts in that. And this is like that how can this affect my life in all these ways? Well, when you start feeling better and you start feeling that inner vitality and charge from the inside out, and you get some momentum going and you can handle things, then you start doing things you always wanted to do, and et cetera, et cetera. And it
Yeah.
starts cascading, making tough decisions that you just didn't have the energy. Like, I can't even
Yeah.
face that because I just can hardly get through the day.
And that's only 6 weeks. Imagine what it looks like 6 months later.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So there's this, there are immediate effects that sometimes people feel, and then there's the progressive effects over time.
Mhm.
Yeah, so this is just, 5 different programs. Already went into that. You can run it by on the punch pad. You can do it in the app. I won't go through this in details, just showing a little bit more what those 5 programs are like. Um, and just this month in August, they have come out with an additional program set in addition to those 5, which have some specifics to them. And again, I can go into those, in more detail at another. I just want to introduce
Mhm.
that. They do have an August special where those are normally like $500 to get those additional programs. So if you buy a cloud or cloud set in August, they are included, no extra charge. So you get that whole cloud set this month. This is just showing the additional ones that they have. I'm also co-moderating a health professionals roundtable. This is like separate from Centropix. I felt it was important to develop this. So I'm a part-time medical advisor. So this is a group of practitioners, all kinds and shapes and forms, who are using the cloud. We get together, closed door. We can say whatever we want, talk about whatever we want, to best use practices, troubleshoot. What are you finding? How are you best using this? What have you found like super successful using the cloud combined with this? And so it's a vibrant group that is growing. We've done it about 4 months now. Um, and then I want to just wrap up, like, there are a lot of places out there you could purchase the cloud. Like, you have to purchase it through an affiliate. That's just the structure. So you could acquire it at a lot of different places. And I just want to say, like, Team Carly and Dr. Jeff is part of what we are. And why would you buy through me versus if you just found some other affiliate? Well, you would have access to us for education and support as brand partners. Now, you can buy it just as a customer, but also you can buy it and be a brand partner, which really opens up into what is valuable to Carly and I is collaboration, connection, and community as part of this. It's not just like, oh, get this and whatever, but that we actually collaborate and connect and have a community to work together as partners to help people thrive. To me, it's all about go team human. Let's help people
Absolutely.
thrive. Yeah. And so, you have choices, and you could purchase it where you want and from who it would be under someone. But with Carly and myself, you can feel us. And if you resonate with who we are and our philosophy and our approach, we'd love to be partners with you. And
Oh,
that's Carly's URL at the bottom. And I just want to wrap up with one of the things that really why we're doing this too is because it matches our paradigm of self-empowerment, like using this as like believing and bringing in, like, my body knows what to do. I'm going to give it from the inside out what it needs to do it. Self-responsibility, compassion, sovereignty, trust that you and your body know what it needs, and it will take this input and do what it wants to do. And then I also want to just say this is a frequency generator. It's a benevolent, it's beneficial, it's foundational, but you and me and Carly are the most sophisticated frequency generators. And the energy that we bring into life, affects ourselves and everyone around us.
absolutely. I love that. And it's so true. Yeah, these are our goals, and we're really, heart-centered and just working from an authentic place to
Yeah.
bring more of this awareness and this healing to everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just so core. It's like, you know, diet/nutrition, physical activity, cloud,
Yeah.
the cloud
Yeah.
chart, charging and balancing my system. Like, those are just like blocks at the bottom of the building. And then
Yep.
I build on top of that. And then of
Yeah.
course, mental, emotional, and spiritual health and all the other pieces and parts in my relationships. And
Mhm.
um, yeah, so it's yeah, here we are.
Here we are. Yeah. I work with a lot of, different roots in my practice as well. And I can tell you from a practitioner standpoint, applying all of those roots to my life, I still hit that threshold, that plateau. And the thing that really changed everything else was using the cloud, bringing that energy into my system. So
Yeah, that was
I
part of
speak
my
from
mo
experience.
exactly, and that's part of my motivation too, is I'd hit an energy ceiling.
Mhm.
Just I know all about a lot of like all the mitochondria, this and red light and sauna, and trying to build my ATP outputs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, detox and microbes and gut health. But I couldn't get beyond a certain place, and I needed tons of sleep. If I didn't get it, didn't feel that great. And what I realized over time is like it's not chemistry. Chemistry was not the limiting factor in for me. It actually was a step before that. It was physics, and it was direct energy transfer through this next generation electromagnetics, which then started pushing that ceiling further and further up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. That was an amazing presentation. I'm sure everybody learned a lot and it piqued interest. And I know people are going to have a lot more questions. So I do encourage you all, if you do have questions, to reach out to me. I'll put my contact information in the show notes. And yeah, look for more of this. We have a lot planned in terms of, educational webinar style videos
Hmm.
and just really want to connect with you all. If you have questions or you feel that this is sparking something internally, go with that, follow that.
Yeah.
So we'd love to connect with
Great
you.
advice. We're starting broad, and then we have some ideas for like getting more specific with subsequent videos, and
Yeah,
hope it's beneficial for you.
I hope so. Yeah, this is fun. Thank you so
Cool.
much, Dr. Jeff.
Yeah, thanks, Carly.
Always a
Take
pleasure to sit with you.
Likewise, likewise.
Yeah,
Take care.
thanks. You too.